Gainers. Ralphie here on location with some fitter philosophy. It's a rather cloudy day, but you can still get a very good view of the Irish Sea behind me and the hilly, even mountainish landscape around this coast. It's quite dramatic, and our lives as we live them, even day to day, can be quite dramatic. Not necessarily in a great big traumatic way, but in its own little ways. The people we meet, that we interact with, the places we go, the hobbies we have, the things that we do. And so many of these activities involve other people, and some of them we call friends. And that is the topic of my conversation today as part of the investment series, because one of the most important things we do in life is to invest in life, and it's made up of various components, and the quality of these components will together collectively define the quality of our life. And one of these components is the friendships we have. Naturally, when we're growing up, it tends to be our relatives and carers that we're surrounded with, people that we call family, but we may or may not have much in common with them. It really all depends on the individual, and we are all individuals. We have our weaknesses, our strengths, our likes, our dislikes, and our connection with people, other people, is very much like that. And you may find that you may get on with your family, you may not at all get on with your family, or you may get on absolutely fantastically with the family. It varies significantly. For quite a number of people, family can be friends, but for others, they're not. In fact, they can be enemies. And it's just the provenance of the situation that purely by genetic default you're attached to these people, particularly during the early part of your life, where they are going to be defined as quote-unquote family. But as we interact with the wider community and society, whether it be first of all in schools and then later on in sports clubs, hobby clubs, whatever, and then eventually in the workplace, it's good to know yourself. Friends is a tough one, and I'll tell you why. Because you can get a whole load of advice on it, but on finding friends and keeping friends and looking after friends, but people vary so significantly that there are those who are perfectly content on their own, and these people become lighthouse keepers or supervisors at sewage works, jobs that don't involve a lot of social interaction. Or they may become long-distance lorry drivers. And don't think of these people as isolated or lonely. It's not the case, particularly now in the age of the internet. People who may appear isolated because they have the entire world at the end of the keyboard, on the other side of the computer screen, for which to find points of references for friendships. The most incredible friendships can strike up, and I'll just give you a good illustrative example of that. There was, I remember when I was working in Glasgow as a funeral director, there was a little old lady who, her family grew up and moved away, and they tended to ignore her because that often happens, and they keep an eye on the bank account, phone occasionally, and then turn up after the funeral to claim the inheritance. A lot of families are like that, just sharing it. But her youngest son went to Thailand. Initially he was just basically bumming around the world, because he'd taken a trade, he'd qualified as a joiner, and he didn't want to get caught up into they call it the 9 to 5, but if you're on the tools, it can be from 7 till 7. These are long hours, particularly in the UK where things are not so organised. But he decided to take a year out, and the place that he felt most at home at as a Scotsman, was in fact in Thailand, just outside of Bangkok. And he worked in a bar there, and he did some joinery. He taught some local lads some of his joinery skills, and he seemed to adopt the place as much as they adopted him. So he became friends with the country. And within that country, he developed further friendships, which would never have been even imaginable a generation ago. And of course, he'd phone back his mum and ask her how she's doing. And it got to the stage where she was going through a patch of ill health. And I think it was really arthritis more than nothing serious. But he invited her out for the sunshine. She went out there and she made more friends in 3 months than she'd made in an entire lifetime living in her own community in Glasgow. This, by the way, is not unusual. It's not a very rare singular occurrence. It's just the way it is. As we grow older and with more experience of life, we learn one of the most important skills, the skill of making friends. Not people we know, not acquaintances, but on a rational and irrational, on a sympathetic, on an instinctive level. We connect with certain people that we don't with others. And really the most isolated people are those that are stuck in a certain community, and they have to adopt acquaintances as friends and call them friends when they really don't have a much deeper connection. So it's interesting times we live in. My advice is three pieces of advice for you on investing in friendships. 1, be patient. If you're a loner, be comfortable being a loner. Being alone does not mean you're lonely. There are plenty of people around you who have loads of friends who are the heart and soul of the party, and they're profoundly lonely because they are not comfortable with themselves. And this is important. The best friend that we'll ever know is us, ourselves. That's the most important person to make friends with. So be honest with yourself. Be positive with yourself. And just accept yourself as you are, understanding your strengths and working to reduce your weaknesses. It's not a big sudden sea change, it's just something that happens gradually, almost spontaneously over time. Secondly, look after your friends. Once you make friends, and you don't need many, you can have 2 or 3 friends, good friends, that'll last a while, that are meaningful. And foster that friendship. Give these people time, give these people attention. You don't have to spend a lot of money. If you just take time to be friendly, that is the most useful thing for sustaining friendship. Occasional phone call, meeting up, going somewhere, doing something, having common interests. That's very important. And thirdly, and possibly the most important piece of advice on investment in friendships, is keep it real, keep it honest. If we're not honest with others, we will never be truly honest with ourselves. So be honest. If some friendships have run their course and you lose that common bond, accept it and move on. It's real life. And as we get older, don't be surprised that you may discover that you're making friends out with your age group, your socio-economic group, your usual networks. You can simply be meeting someone in a coffee shop and something clicks. Roll with it. See where it takes you. Because life is a journey. That's the way it is. And this is the value of friendships, of keeping it positive, exploring the circumstances you find yourself in. And when you find individuals, cultivate that friendship. And if you're an elderly person and your best friend happens to be a cat or a dog, that's absolutely fine. That really is. Many people live in cultures where humans are elevated and connections with animals are de-elevated, they're lesser, they're insignificant, they're not as important. And that is simply not true. Humans can develop very strong emotional bonds with cats and dogs and other animals, horses in particular, for a very, very simple reason. Many animals are more emotionally, holistically mature than humans. I'm Ralphie. I hope you've enjoyed this Fitter Philosophy vlog. It's a blog if it's written, it's a vlog if it's video. There you go, that's the difference. I will now leave you with this stunning, slightly cloudy sea view, coastal sea view, while you contemplate your investment in friendships. Thank you for watching. Click subscribe, bell, la-di-da-di-da, and I'll see you for my next investment video in 7 days. Thank you for watching now. Take care of yourself.